Thanks for being here at the conference in the AM. Like this is awesome. So, welcome to the conference. Welcome to our presentation. So our presentation today, as Joey mentioned, is going to be, well, covering what we do here at the Media and Gaming Lab at Texas A&M University. And so Joey alluded to a few things earlier, and one of the things that you talked about was the Media Lab and where we've come from and how we're how we got here. So one of the things that I want to touch on is so Joy mentioned that there was a group called the Convergent Media Collective, right? And that kind of led to this, which is where we are right now. But before that, there was something called the ACT Lab, which is over at that other school at Texas at Austin. And yes, I know I was waiting for the hissing. Yeah, there. So that was founded by this woman named Sandy Stone, who is just awesome and a visionary. We could have a whole thing just about Sandy, to be honest, because she's just amazing. And that kind of gave way to the Convergent Media Collective at UIW and kind of gave way to here. But the whole main thing about all of these programs, one thing they have in common is that there is a emphasis on making stuff, taking risks, and being awesome, which are the three tenets of the ACT Lab and which we now embody here at the Media and Gaming Lab. And so the panel that we have assembled today are all people who are making stuff, taking risks, and being awesome. And before we go any further, I'd like to turn it over to the panel and get them to say who they are and just real quick, kind of what they do. We'll come back, but yeah.
Actually, I'm pretty loud. You can hear me in the back, actually. Theater kid. Anyways, I'm Rick Poulos. I am a PhD student in the Department of Communication in my third year, and I sort of focus on popular culture and fan studies, and I'm also interested in things like community building and collaboration, and I'll talk about that a little bit more during this panel.
Hello, everybody. My name is Ryan Buchanan, but I go by Zana Rain. I'm a student here at Texas A&M, and I'm a proud member of this beautiful organization.
Hi, I'm Connor McCormick. I'm also a very proud member of this organization, and I'm also an undergrad here.
Hi, my name is David Dockery. I'm a graduate student in the communication department, and I study myth, narrative, and video games. And I too am very happy to be part of the Media and Gaming Lab. It's been a great opportunity.
I feel like I need to say that I'm a proud member of the my name is Jackson Moss. I'm a communication major with a minor in sports management, and my focus is really sports media. And I was able to create a sports podcast through the Media and Gaming Lab and create that with Joey and Johnny.
Awesome. And I just realized I didn't say who I am, but I'm Johnny, Jonathan Guajardo, and I'm an assistant professor of the practice here at Texas A&M in the Department of Communication and Journalism. I also own my own company called GA Media Productions, and I do some freelance news on the side for this for my publication, the VCS Chronicle and the San Antonio Sentinel. So that's a bit about who I am.
And you're a PhD.
Oh yes, that's right. That's right. I forget to mention my own education. But I'm currently doing my PhD at Texas Tech University, and I am going into my dissertation process this summer, so that's going to be fun. But yeah, so thank you for bringing that up because I always forget to mention that. So, but yeah, that's who I am, and that's who the panel is. And so the reason we assembled this panel is because we want to hear a bit about what's going on in the Media and Gaming Lab. And there's been a lot of growth over the past 5-6 years, ever since we've been here. It's been a lot of growth. And that's what we want to talk about and see, where we are today, from and hear from people who are doing it themselves. So we're going to go ahead and just kind of go around, and we're going to begin and have people share what it is they're doing, and I'll kind of moderate it and pull stuff up as need be, and we'll go from there. So, want to go first, Rick?
You want me to go first?
Yeah.
Okay,
Yeah.
I'm gonna have to switch over to a Mac because I don't know what this monster is, this PC. Yeah, it goes in that one.
I think there's
So
I think there's a button underneath.
So anyways, again, I'm Rick Poulos, and I'm in my third year as a PhD student, just finished my big exam. I'm also a huge Madonna fan, so you'll know I'm in town because my license plate says Madonna. So I just come off of all these like fan experiences, and then also my exam. Like I did the Madonna concert, I did 2 continents, 7 cities, 15 shows, and countless old friends and new friends, and a lot of money out the door. But I had such a brilliant experience that I just remember the relationships, being with people more than the show. And I think that's one of the things about the Media and Gaming Lab is that that when I came into it, I was in a low point my first year in my PhD program. So, and all of you who are from a different part of the world or a different part of Texas, we come here and it's like we're looking for our people, we're trying to figure things out. And even in my 40s, moving from New York City out here, I was a little lost, especially going into the second semester until I found the Media and Gaming Lab. And I think one of the big things for me is meeting people, connecting with people, and collaborating with people. So that has been one of the major influences from Joey and Johnny, and just from, you know, being around people that are interested in making things and create. So in the spirit of that, I'm going to talk about a couple of the collaborations I've done recently, not going too far back, and just show them a little bit, but I believe will probably talk about what we did. Are you showing your film today?
For Zoe or for?
The xylophone?
Oh, no, I'm not actually.
Oh, okay.
Once the students.
Okay, I'm going to talk a little bit about that, and then Valentina is going to talk about her project, but I'm going to talk about that. So let me pull up, God, that is a messy desktop. Okay.
There's a messy desktop.
Let's see. Here we go. So Mr. Will over there had reached out to me to capture some interviews for his faculty showcase in the Department of Performance Studies. So, and his whole thing was about this awesome, amazing instrument that he built. So I'm not going to play the whole thing, just to show you that this is a piece of what we created together. The editing was done by Will, but just we're going to watch like a little touch of it.
The Cthulhu Bone is an instrument.
A wicked cello in some ways.
But it makes a lot of cool warbly sounds, and not just warbly, but just a lot of percussion sounds that you wouldn't expect to hear when you hear the word instrument.
It's just kind of like an upright bass that also has its own unique sound.
The Cthulhu phone is a phone that I built based on something called the sheet metal cello. That was designed by a instrument maker at Boston College years ago in the 70s. And it's intended to create sounds that are unfamiliar or unusual and use a certain amount of quote unquote natural reverb.
Okay, so we'll just stop it there. You get the idea. You know, Will reached out to me and was like, hey, I need to do this thing. And so in January, we got together. We shot that all in this building. There's a black box theater down on the first floor. We were in there. We were in Will's office equipment room. And then also, we shot, we didn't get to it, but we did 5 interviews, right?
Yeah, but they're all in there at some point or another.
Yeah.
Some offices, other places.
Yeah, but for time's sake, we're just to give you an idea. So that was when we did it over 2 days, right? You know, and we had one interview that was a little more stressful than the other ones, just because the person was slightly resistant to being on camera. And of course, that stuff happens sometimes when you're working in on documentaries. So that was the beginning of this spring term that we worked on that. And then over spring break, I was out with another PhD student who's going to talk about this later after lunch. We were out on location in Crockett, Texas, next to this farmhouse that used to be a vibrant, active farm, but that has since gone into disrepair. Am I describing it right? Sort of.
Yeah, she's not going to talk about it. She's going to talk about something else after lunch. But
Oh, you are?
yeah,
Oh.
okay.
I was gonna keep the location anonymous, because I was gonna go into some legal stuff, but that's fine.
I'm sorry, I blew it. But anyway, so Valentina reached out to me, and I have some equipment that was helpful for her her production. And I was out shooting with them for 2 days. They did a 5-day shoot. And so you can see Valentina set this up amazingly. She had this tent, she had generators. I mean, it was like the real deal. And we have like multiple cameras going on. So I'm just going to play this. It's just a clip. That's one of our Media and Gaming Lab students. Kate, are you here?
No.
Yeah.
There, I found that.
And this is the cinematographer, Daniel. And there's another camera. So we're doing a 2-camera setup. But again, just going out, I mean, and working with people, collaborating, connecting, having that experience, swatting flies out in the middle of this farmhouse. But it was just a fascinating story, and it was a great opportunity to work with both Valentina and Daniel and meet some amazing people. And I don't think I'd be doing this had I never rotated into the Media and Gaming Lab, right? Like I went to film school back in the Stone Ages, back in the 1990s, but kind of put up the film and diverged into theater. And so, so the Media and Gaming Lab opened me up to like creating media again in a different way. And also it's been expensive. I bought 2 cameras. That's a whole nother story. And then one other collaboration that I had this semester, one of many more, but one of the other ones that sort of probably wouldn't have come to life if I wasn't a part of the Media and Gaming Lab, was actually somebody that I met at the theater company of Bryan College Station, where I am a board member. He was doing his senior capstone project in the visualization department, and he needed somebody to videotape what turned out to be a game show. And we set this up on our stage at the theater company, and I have 2 cameras going, but I'm just going to show you a second of that. How that looked. And I mean, he really needed help putting this together, and although I was coming up to this 10-day exam in my PhD program, I said, you know what? Same thing with Valentina. I was like, you know what? They need help. I can do this. I'll make it work. And I took the time out. That's what you have to do sometimes. You have to say, okay, I can give a little bit of myself here to work with people, to work collaboratively. So his project, which he passed, looked like this.
Okay, so this game is called spelling, right? So that means each time you play a game, you will be saying a word. Got it? You got it? You got it? Yeah. Okay, cool. So, first game is called team spelling. Does anybody know what that is about? You're spelling with your teeth. Okay. So, first two players that I see here are Charlie and Jamie.
So you get the idea. And he passed and he's graduated on May 11th. But you know, these opportunities, I probably wouldn't have the equipment. I wouldn't have, be positioned within multiple communities here in the Bryan Collocation as somebody that can do videography work. And I wouldn't be in this position right now if I hadn't come and joined the Media and Gaming Lab. So if you are a student, definitely come to the Media and Gaming Lab and like crack open a whole new world. All right, I am going to pass it on to Zeno. Do you need this? I'm just going to set up. Okay.
Hello. So I definitely did have a presentation, but then I realized that it got permanently deleted because I left someone's team on Canva and I don't know anything about Canva, so I lost it. So I had some visuals to show y'all. I'm not gonna pull my Instagram because I just don't think that's an effective way of telling my story, but I will say, coming to my sophomore year, I'm actually a senior right now, I graduated in May. It was still COVID pandemic. The very first time that I knew and found out about this Media and Gaming Lab was from a fellow student. And if anybody who doesn't know me personally, people who know me, they know that I'm a big Halloween guy and I'm big with pumpkins, and I used to walk around with a pumpkin on my head, and I still do. The first ever occurrence of me being in a Media and Gaming Lab meeting was over Zoom. And the first thing that happened was Dr. Anthony Ramirez asking me what I like, and I told him about that and how I'm a music artist on the side and my brand. And he said, okay, well, let's draw out your logo. I was like, what are you talking about? And keep in mind, this is like back in my little SoundCloud era, which I'm still in, unfortunately. But like, nobody's ever taken that risk to do that. So from that point, I knew that there was a lot of people around me who surprisingly were so open to being creative, which I was ignorant coming into A&M. I didn't think that was like a thing here, but it is. So fast forward to like a year later, I'm doing more work with Dr. Joey Lopez. I'm doing more work with Rick as well. And Joey did one thing that no one's ever done, is that he put me in the spot to be at a music concert. And I'm a music artist, but I've never been to a music concert. And the first time I went to one, he handed me a $3,000 camera and said, go take pictures. And I said, yes, sir. Like, I don't know how to do this, but I did. And I went to this place called the Grand Stafford Theater in downtown Bryan. And he was there. Rick remembers that.
I thought you were going to join the band and leave to college.
I actually did drop out of college right after that.
What?
No, I'm just kidding. But I was close. It really put me in a place like when I had first met the Grand Stafford Theater, I started working there, started interning there, and fast forward, I did my first show there this last fall. I started putting on actual events there, like music concerts, through the TAMU Media Gaming Lab and the PVFA with Dr. Campbell and Dr. O'Connor. We did like a conference, and we had like a record label head of events executive come down just to talk to us and just come to attend it. So for me personally, I can get really emotional and say it changed my life, but I just want to be like, it's not about what an individual's impact and like how that influence of the Media Gaming Lab has done for them. I think like it has taught me about what I can do when I want to work in a collaborative setting. Because for me, I can like always think about how wonderful this lab was, but there was an actual community aspect of this that I don't think I found anywhere else here in A&M, even though this is A&M and we're all supposed to be a cult of Aggies, which I love. But from me to Dr. Joy Lopez to Jonathan to every single individual, like even Dr. Anthony Ramirez when he was still here, now he's over in Houston, so I love Houston, by the way. I love it, and I wish I could show you the really cool things that I have done here, but it would take like years just to go through stuff. But again, thank you guys for coming. My name is Zeno Rain, and I'm a proud member of the TAMU Media and Gaming Lab.
Zeno, can you tell them your major and then where you also work?
Okay. So I was gonna ignore that. I'm an undergraduate student in the School of Public Health, and I have an internship with MD Anderson Cancer Center. Yay!
I just think it's a cool dynamic.
My teacher was reading a paper because I'm in a public health narrative class, and I was talking about the lab, and she told me, she's like, "Are you a public health major?" And I was like, "Yeah." She's like, "Why are you in here? You don't talk like you are." I was like, "Music, yeah." Also, I just dropped a song on Spotify. You can look it up. It's called Zeno Rain. It goes crazy. Okay, thank you.
Yes. Hi everyone, I'm Connor McCormick. I am a proud member of the Media and Gaming Lab. I have already mentioned that. I forgot to mention this earlier, but I am a telecommunications and media studies freshman currently, and I want to minor in virtual production. So I'm hoping all my stuff goes through, fingers crossed. So I'm gonna mention the fact that in the Media and Gaming Lab, we are working on, we got 4 MetaQuest 2s, and we are going to find a way to connect all of those and use like multiple people, like have multiple people playing the same experience in, I want to say in like different locations, but because of the fact that we're just gonna have like maybe one room and just use that, we'll just go into that. And I'm also part of the social media team. So it's me and Sasha Reeves, who unfortunately cannot make it, but she's the head of our social media side. I just give her the media that she can post. I do all like the photography and videography work for all the different events, especially with Zeno's. I have also covered, like, for example, I've covered the Afro-Latin Poetry Conference that happened a couple weeks ago. And then I covered the Silent Disco that was last week. I've also covered the Rob Hitchcock Ultraviolet Band the night, that same day as well. Out of Media Lab, I have made a lot of new connections. I met a lot of amazing people, especially Zeno. He was actually at the very first meeting that I attended. And I also met Joey at the very first meeting. There's also a lot of other really amazing people that couldn't be here today that I also met up with. But yeah, in the future, for future projects, I'm going to be helping out. I am very excited to announce I'm going to be helping out with the Aggie Robotics competition filming and directing that. I'm going to be helping with all the post-production stuff, all the production stuff. And in the future, we're going to hopefully get into virtual reality with simulators and some really high-tech, cool looking things. Now I'm going to hand it off to David to go into game theory. Thank you.
Do you want
I unfortunately, since I got quick thing, I learned the last minute about this that I was presenting. So I didn't have enough time to prepare a bunch of media. But on the social media page, everything I've done is up there. So yes.
TAMU Media and Gaming Lab, I think.
Yep, Tandem Media Gaming Lab. We like to be challenged. We like improv. He's not the only theater kid. I was in theater in middle school. I never got the role, but they said I played the sheep so well that she considered actually making that a position. So I was like, okay. No, in terms of, that's a true story.
Yeah, and Sasha does all the graphics for our social media
Yep,
posts.
that too.
So if you look at Instagram and TAMU Media Gaming Lab, all of the slides for like all the speakers and everything, Sasha made all of those, and they turned out really well.
I was the one that ran around the camera in high school. That was filming those two theater groups. And I was doing rap battles. It was crazy. Oh, there it goes.
Oh, there you go.
Yeah. There you go.
There we go. All right, howdy, everybody.
Howdy.
Texas A&M greeting. My name is David, as I've been introduced, and I am working with what I call the Gaming Analysis Group at the Texas A&M Media and Gaming Lab. You know, if you are a gamer, one of the big questions that often confronts you from people who don't play games or from people who are a little skeptical of games is, what are games good for, right? You know, you're always asked, you know, is this not just a frivolous waste of time? So one of the goals of the Gaming Analysis Group is to answer that question. What are games good for? And I think that games are good for a lot of things, well beyond just pure entertainment. They are actually something that can help us understand ourselves and elevate our human experience. And that's sort of one of the things that drove me to want to work with a group like this. And I have a set of wonderful students who have come together, and every Wednesday night for the past few weeks, we get together and we play a video game. And we analyze that game, just like you would a great piece of literature or a great movie. And we talk about what that game means and what the games are saying. And that's sort of what we're hoping to do with the Game Analysis Group. So I just want to show you just a few of the games we talked about and some of the insights we discovered to show you the games are good for more than just pure entertainment. So the first game we officially played was a video game called Journey. Journey is about, well, a journey. And outside of the instructions, that is the only word used in this entire game. It is a story about a pilgrimage to that distant mountain over there. And the game raises all kinds of fascinating questions about our relationship to the environment and the purpose and things that drive us as we go through life. And it was a short game. We managed to get all the way through that game. I cannot say the same for all the games we played, but that game was very special because we got to sit there and play through it all the way with each other. The next game that we played a little bit of is Mass Effect. Mass Effect is a third-person RPG role-playing game where you play Commander Shepard in the far distant future, and you get the opportunity to make decisions in interesting situations regarding the future of the human race. It makes us ask questions about technology and race relations and the nature of politics. And what I've been working on lately is Star Wars Knights of the Old Republic 2, which is a Star Wars licensed game set 4,000 years before the prequel trilogy, if you are familiar with the lore. And it is dealing with all kinds of fascinating questions, like how trauma lingers on after war, and the relationship between teachers and their teachings, and the struggles that religious institutions have with the religions they practice. All questions that go far beyond just what you play in a game to entertain yourself. Something that affects many of us in our everyday lives. And it's things like this, analyzing games to explore what is underneath it, what they're saying to us. That's what we're trying to do with the gaming analysis group. And I have a set of wonderful students, as I said, who are really smart and I've benefited a ton from their insights and their analysis. What we do in there is not purely just answering my questions. I encourage people to bring questions of their own. And we can talk a little bit about how we can answer those questions during the meetings. And whenever possible, we have a great big Google Doc that we're trying to record all our observations in. And my hope is that one day that Google Doc will be full of great commentary and insights about video games. So to me, when people ask what are games good for, I think the gaming analysis group shows us what games are good for. They're good for elevating the human experience and helping us to understand ourselves, not merely for entertainment, although it's totally fine if you just want to play for entertainment. So that's basically what we are up to in there. That's all I'm going to say. Thank you.
Really quickly, do I have any sports fans in here? Show of hands. Anyone who likes sports? Cool. If you don't like sports, just pretend like you like sports for like the next 5 to 10 minutes because it'll be So my name is Jackson Moss. I am a communications major with a minor in sports management. I always have had an interest in sports broadcasting. So I was a student and actually still am a student of Johnny's. And last semester, actually, I was in one of his classes and I heard him mention the Media and Gaming Lab. And I talked to him after class and we kind of both came up with the idea to create a sports podcast, mainly covering A&M football. So a couple things I just want to mention before I show you all a clip of our first episode, which, by the way, not the best episode, but we're going to go and present it anyways. I don't really have anything else to present. So, but I just wanted to say thank you to both Joey and Johnny because they provided the equipment that we needed. And not only that, but more equipment to make it an even better podcast. I remember this is going to, I don't know if it's going to sound like gibber spiel, but it's really cool to me. Most podcasts, you know, when you're starting off, you have one camera, you have maybe 2 mics, depending on how many people you have. We were able to have 3 cameras, 3 mics at a desk, switchers, you know, anything we really needed. And I thought that was really special and it meant a lot to me. And it provided such a big opportunity for us to not only make this podcast, but also have fun while doing it and enjoying the creative side of sports broadcasting and sports media. So I'll play a little clip. This is going to be our intro. This is the very first one. We're super excited about this, but is the volume good to go?
I think so. Let's
see.
Welcome to the Pass Back. I am your host, Jackson McMuscle, alongside Kate Young. This is a podcast where we're going to be talking about pretty much everything in football. Just a little background on each of us. I'm from North Dallas. I'm currently a communication major, class of 2024, down here at College Station. Kate, tell me a little bit about you.
I'm class of 2025. I'm a junior from San Antonio. I'm a communications major as well, and I love sports media, so it's right up my alley.
We decided to kind of start this podcast because we all both have an interest in talking about A&M football and A&M sports. And we definitely have an interesting season coming up and probably one of the more interesting seasons coming up. A lot of interesting things happening in SEC West play that we're going to dive into. But I think first we wanted to start off with a couple things from last week's game against Arkansas, which, by the way, that was probably the least stressful game I've ever watched in AT&T Stadium in the past 12 years.
Oh, what a game.
All right, so I just want to play a quick minute of it, just so you guys get an idea. But yeah, no, I was super grateful for them providing this for us. It was a very cool experience. So back in high school, I was actually still interested in sports broadcasting, and I didn't really have many resources to make a sports media or like sports radio show. So what I did was I got with a couple of people who shared the same interest, not in necessarily sports radio, but also music radio. And what we did is we got a teacher to sponsor our radio show. And what it did was we actually ended up creating a radio club. And from that radio club, it actually turned into a class. And the school ended up, by my senior year, providing us with a full booth for production. So that was a big inspiration and why I wanted to keep pursuing it and following it in college. And I think still it was just by chance. And, like I said, with how gracious Joey and Johnny have been, that we got to make this podcast, and it was awesome. And now, not only that, it has allowed me to be creative and enjoy the creative process of sports media, but it has also provided a huge opportunity, and probably the biggest opportunity that I've had so far in my career. After we ended up doing the Pass Back podcast last semester, I ended up applying for, really quick show of hands, who knows what TexAgs is? Cool. All right. So if you don't know, TexAgs is probably the biggest fan site and sports media site for Texas A&M athletics. After our last episode, I decided to apply for the TexAgs internship. And because I had a more diverse portfolio with on-air, I don't even know, on-air opportunities, I guess is how I would say it, but that actually helped propel me above other people for the internship, and I actually ended up getting it. So, so my last day actually was yesterday. I would pull up like I guess I could. I mean, do I have time to pull up an episode really quick? Okay, I don't know if I'm taking longer than other people. I had no plan going into this, by the way. Like Northgate last night. Like I was on Northgate. Sure.
In response to the trade rumor.
This is also not brought to you by the SAD. So
Not this rate.
I was also like really terrified because this is like my actual first like public speech other than public speaking or it's public speaking class. So thank you all for being welcoming.
Yeah, definitely also appreciate that. This is my first like proper conference improv. So it's an honor to be here.
Now I'm just like, well, a lot of new faces around here, but I mean, they all look good, all impressive physically, and I enjoyed what I got to see yesterday.
Good stuff, Nick. Let's go to the Angry Elephant News and Social Center. Jackson Moss is in the house. Jackson, I know you've got a very busy weekend, something on Friday, Saturday, and Sunday, right?
I do. I'm actually getting my ring this evening, so I'm a new Mountain Dawson just got these two, so shout out him.
Hey, you put a little rock in your hair. Looks good today, buddy.
I did. I usually
Today it looks not only listen to me, I know you'll take it that way. Some like you styled it.
Thank you. That's so hopping into the news and sports, Texas A&M's Tyrese Radford received an invitation to the 2024 Portsmouth Invitational Tournament, which has been showcasing in talents of senior college basketball players to professional scouts since 1953. The 70th PIT will be from April 17th through the 20th with 8 teams of 8 players playing 12 games in 4 days. And then as we talked about it already, number 3 Texas A&M baseball team welcomes number 6 Vanderbilt to Olsen Field for a 3-game series starting tonight at 6 p.m. And then I have a couple stats for y'all really quick. On the mound, the Aggies currently rank first nationally in shutouts. I think they're tied with Arkansas right now at 6. Second in ERA, second in strikeout to walk ratio.
All right, I'm gonna stop the stats there because it's like a long list. But yeah, no. So like I was saying, this has provided me a huge opportunity to pursue what I want to follow in sports media and sports broadcasting. So yeah, no. Whenever he asked me to come speak for this, I thought, obviously, I would love to, tell everyone who's not involved who is interested in the sports media, or I guess sports media. It was sports media for me, but the media and gaming lab to get involved, and it's got something for everyone. And this just proves, I haven't done. It wasn't really gaming, but it was media, and I just kind of did my own thing. And yeah, I think that's about it. That's all I have for y'all. So thank you all for listening.
Can I ask you a question?
Sure.
On your logo, the pass back.
Yep.
Right? Like that's all the original content creation, correct?
Yeah. So I actually also do graphic design, and that was a lot of the things I did for TexAgs as well. I wish I pulled up my pictures because I have a portfolio, and I did a lot of their, or not a lot, but I did a couple of their social media posts. So all the graphics for the Passback was from.
So just a suggestion.
Yeah.
If you're on air in a medium platform, podcasting, is in the upper right hand corner by midnight tonight. Put a TM up there for trademark, because that's your story,
right,
as well as your content.
Right.
You file it later, but you can also wear it right now because you put it in action. It's activated.
Right.
But that's the first thing that you're talking about off the top.
Gotcha.
And I looked up the pass back and scrolled through a bunch of things already. And I didn't find anything, because there's a difference between a service mark and a trademark. And your trade is this media podcast platform with this very defined product that you're producing. So that's your brand.
Yep.
It's on. So
Protect.
Absolutely.
Let's protect it.
It's its own.
Hey, can you say a little bit about that real quick? How you should label your stuff or like DM your stuff?
Any kind of element, whether it's podcast, if you've got a title for your Instagram, it's ideally your product, or Zano, Reno, any of those elements that you guys are establishing, put that TM on there, right? Put that trademark on there. You can circle on later, which is a registered copy, but you want to protect it immediately as quickly as you can, no matter what your formats are. If you have that definitive title, like The Journey, if you created that, The Journey, boom, just plop it on there. And there are people that will argue with you at points and say, well, I have a name that's similar to that, or I have a name that's exactly like that. You can have an exact name of somebody else's, but what differentiates it is the content and the product that you're producing. That's what the difference is right there. And some people will say, well, we'll challenge you in court. Go ahead and challenge me. All they can do is send you a notice and ask you to cease and desist and don't put it up anymore. But it draws activity to what your product is, who you are, and what you're doing, which can amplify that amongst a group of people that are going like, hey, so-and-so, what happened to so-and-so? This might be kind of interesting to see. Most of the time, people will back off. I've had this experience before a few times, so I'm very familiar with it. And I also had for a number of years a guy out of Atlanta that would handle like all of my trademark and my registered copyrights. And they're always different because domestically you're covered in 50 states. But if you want to do TM or copyright, I think over in Europe, there's like 37 different separate entities that you would have to do for each country. Southeast Asia, the same thing. It's not like a blanket global, right? So they all differentiate from EU to Southeast Asia to Africa. They're all in different spots. But for right now, what you got, I grabbed onto it right away.
I like protect your stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, thank you. I appreciate it.
Awesome. Thank you, Kay, for your comment there, and Jackson for your presentation, as well as all the presenters for your presentations here today. We've talked a bit about what we're doing in the lab, and I'll cover some more stuff also real quick. Jackson mentioned the Passback, and we also had another one that semester called the 12th Woman, and this is Sophie and Jordan, and they actually began at the exact same time as the Passback and used the same room, the same setup. We all kind of worked together to figure it out, because this is when we were just doing it. This is our first setup was purely in the media and gaming lab, the room, we transform it like twice a week into this multi-camera production, setup with mics and all lights and all that stuff. And then they even made a little backdrop for theirs. And the 12th Minute was a podcast that was also sports focused, but from a female perspective, and really, really cool podcast. And they got like early in the second week, and they're like, "Hey, well, what do we do about sponsors?" And I'm like, "Whoa, this is week 2. We talk about sponsors right now. This is getting crazy, being pretty fast, right?" So we built this whole setup over there, and everyone got to use the equipment, and that was one of the really cool things we liked, was that people got to use the equipment, be in front of the camera, be behind the camera, learn how to set everything up, break everything down. And then now we actually have a podcast set up in the basement of Bolton. We have an actual dedicated podcast space there now, which I believe if you scroll down should be there. It's not it. Should be somewhere on here. Yeah, this is the very, how it looked kind of, when we began it, but it's built out since then. But yeah, so we have a dedicated space in Bolton now too, where students can podcast from. But yeah, Troll Woman was really cool as well. And we got a bunch of new podcasts that are being produced this year, including one for Aggie Sama, which is the Anime and Media Society as well. And so we got tons of different podcasts that are going on, and we're growing this out. We're really excited to see where it's going to go in the future. And we're also working on doing a production with UT and A&M students for the fall, documenting the return of the rivalry game. So that's going to be really cool. But yeah, so that's a bit about, everyone who went through here. Everyone's doing some awesome stuff. And so what we're going to do right now is, well, Kay already opened it up for us, but we're going to open it up to Q&A and see if anyone has any questions for a wonderful panel here.
Why don't we go for, say, 7 minutes?
Okay.
And then, we'll give you all like 3 to 5 minutes to get set up, Anthony. Is that cool? Okay.
Perfect, yeah.
Okay.
So anyone has any questions, go ahead and raise your hand. I'm sure they'll be happy to answer. Awesome.
Second question, how do you join, and is there a limit to the number of people that
The lab?
Yes.
So there is no limit to the number of people. You can join the lab. It's open to everyone, and you join by showing up for a meeting and just talking about what you're interested in. And so one of the rules which we have in the Media and Gaming Lab, which we also had in the other labs, was you show up and you give 100% when you're there. And when you don't want to give 100%, when you can't be there, that's okay, because you're off doing something else that's really cool. So it's really, you show up when you can. There's no requirement to be there at every meeting where you get doxxed, and there's no dues, and there's none of that stuff. So it's loose, but it's very directed, because everyone who wants to be there is going to put all their effort in. So there's definitely no requirement or amount of people who can join. Yes.
I'll give you an example of that. So last fall was super busy for Zano and for Rick. And neither of them came to any meetings except the last meetings. And gave each other hugs and said to each other, "I'm so sorry I haven't been here this semester. I know you must have really been thinking more on that." But they were saying it to each other, who had both not gone to any meetings except for that last meeting. And that's what happens, is that we're not. It's a totally different kind of way of thinking about participation. It's like, if you want to be there, you're going to be there. And if you don't want to be there, go do what it is you love. You don't have to do this. There's nothing required of doing this. This is just pure, amateur. I call it amateur because it means for the love of the game. And for the love is what amateur means. And so that's what we're trying to do, is create an amateur setting where people aren't getting paid all this money, and it's like this hierarchy system or something like that. So advanced faculty.
Follow-up question to that. It's an amazing array of initiatives that you have, but some of them cost money, right? Like you do the podcast and all of these things. Where is the funding coming from, and what advice do you have for other institutions that want to do something?
Where is the funding coming from?
Yeah.
It's not that we're trying to copy you at UHD or anything. $1,000 in the initial month, right? To start. And part of that was just for me, but I just took that money and put it all to the lab. So I just bought equipment. So we started off with that. Then, like, the truth is that we're neither Johnny or I are tenure track. We're the workhorses of the farm. You know, we're professional, right? So we teach overload courses. And sometimes when you teach overload courses, they won't pay you in money. They pay you in faculty money, right? For like special circumstances. So like Johnny and I both taught 2 course overloads where we got paid regular money, but then we got paid COVID money. And COVID money was faculty funds. So it was like, you don't get this money, like personally, but we're putting it in a faculty account. So Johnny and I accumulated $8,000 worth of COVID money. And we went on to buy straight. This year I'm teaching Elmont class, which some of y'all are in. I'm getting $7,500 in faculty funds money, not getting paid to actually teach the class. And so we'll use that again. And then we apply for grants and things like that, but a lot of it is we're really scrappy. I mean, Will's gonna probably talk about this too, or at least has experience with it, that I really do own all of the speakers. We have like, between Will and I, we can put on 2 concerts, 3 concerts right now, like at the same time, because he also personally just, that's Johnny's camera that he's shooting with right now, like his own stuff. Like, we're entrepreneurial. So, my backpack's over there. I probably have 10,000 on board stuff and it hurts the worst. My own like very much. I tell people I'm a capitalist when I'm off campus and I'm a socialist when I'm on campus. So when I'm here, it's like I want to use the state's resources and everything, but I will also spend my own money off campus to do these things out in the real world. So I know that doesn't directly answer your question, but grants would also be like, and I would say like internal, like external, like little pockets of money here and there, and it would be scrappy. I mean, we have a set of like 10 wireless mics that probably about $1 the other day. What did I A set of wireless mics.
Oh, yes,
And
on my back.
that's $20. And nowadays, like, before that $400 set, we also have $1,500 set on it. So, each $1,000 sounded like, it's like, these things cost money, but you also have to scale, so.
All right. Yeah, so that's a very good question about the funding. Thanks for asking that. I guess we can do one more question if anyone has any.
And if no one does have a question though, I do want to say that this lab does not just do work here on Texas A&M. I mean, Joey got me and a couple of other artists and a Colombian artist, a DJ named DJ Mota, to go perform at his like shop in San Antonio. Guys, I've been to San Antonio, but I've never been to San Antonio. I had the craziest Mexican food I've ever had in my life. I had something called a birria taco. I don't know if y'all had birria tacos before. Listen, you dip it in this cup, and I don't even know. So it's everywhere. Okay, it's a lot, and I love it.
Oh, sorry, I missed that.
No, you're good. You're good. It was beautiful. So like, there's people that came up from Corpus Christi, and I think one day we're gonna go to New York, and hopefully one day we're gonna go to my home country, Morocco, and we can put things on. There's the ties that are developing here. They're gonna last way past the graduation day. So thank you all for listening.
Yeah. An example of that is I was Joey's student when I was an undergrad, and here I am, right? What do you call it? So we've been doing this I've been doing this for a long time, and Joey's been doing it for even a longer time. And, we're very happy with, all the work that our students have done here at the lab. Very, very pleased with everything.